I expressed to Lane that I wanted to compete about a year ago, more than a year ago. I started working out religiously and I started following my diet. So we tried to increase my metabolic rate as much as we could. So by the time it came to start dieting, I would have enough room to cut out calories from, and I could actually, start losing weight, if you will.
Like a lot of women, Isabella has a problem with her legs. They tend to store more body fat than other places. And so we've really worked hard on them. She does a lot of high-intensity cardio, but she's had some setbacks during this prep. Her knees have given her problems.
Lane has been nothing but supportive through this whole ordeal. It was a choice that I made to compete. He never encouraged or discouraged me to do it. He just wanted to make sure that I was doing it because I wanted to do it. And I have made that point very clear that I am doing this because I chose to do it.
Rather her be healthy than injure herself permanently trying to work through something.
It's been a journey that I decided to do, and he has done nothing but lay out the path, and I have walked it.
Isabella's on kind of a pretty traditional power hypertrophy split, and so we actually have her on a 4-day split instead of a 5-day, which 5 days is kind of my more traditional split. But I have her on a 4-day so we can put in a little bit more cardio for her, since her legs tend to be her getting her legs lean enough is kind of a weak point for her.
I would say the hardest part for contest prep has been the forgetfulness and that whole zombie feeling, if you will. I love coming to the gym and working out. That's the easy part for me. Once I'm in here, I get going and I'm good to go. But during the day, you just feel like kind of lethargic and tired, and you know it's because you're dieting, and you kind of want to get yourself going, but you can't. That's probably been the hardest part.
I have her on a little more cardio, and then so I cut the training down to 4 days, and just pretty typical 2 days, more powerlifting style, heavy weights, low reps, focusing on strength, and then 2 days of hypertrophy, high reps, getting a pump, doing more bodybuilding style movements. It's worked really well for her. In the off season, she gained quite a bit of strength. I mean, she went up to where she was doing rack chins with like a 70-pound dumbbell in her lap. Pretty. I know guys that don't do that much. In fact, I know a lot of guys who don't do that much.
I've had to see my doctor several times because I actually started having a lot more periods than I should have. I've been getting them almost every 2 weeks for the last 8 weeks, which is really, really not normal, if you will. So after talking to my physician about it, she thinks that my body went into kind of like shock, if you will, when I started dieting, and my hormones were all over the place, and there's no really way to control it. Birth control does help, but it's definitely not regulated it. If it doesn't get any better by the time I'm done with my contest prep, then we're kind of have to look at alternatives as to what's causing it, because it's not normal. It plays a lot with your head. I mean, 1 week I'm 2 pounds lighter, then the next week I'm 3 pounds heavier. And I know it's not body fat, but it definitely plays with your head. Like, what the heck happened? I gained 3 pounds overnight.
I'm not big on changing a bunch of training for contest prep. Whatever builds muscle best is also going to help maintain it best. I don't change training any more than I would normally change training. I mean, it's good to change your training every once in a while to prevent plateauing, but I don't do it just because somebody's dieting. Isabella's diet, we started her out on her low days. She got 2 high days a week, and then her low days, 5 days a week, were 150 grams of protein, 130 grams of carbs, and then about 35 grams of fat. And we adjusted that down depending on if she plateaued or if she had difficulty getting past a certain point.
Currently, I'm consuming anywhere from 1,300 calories to 1,100 calories. These being definitely my lower days, being so close to the show. When I started out, I think I was around 1,500 and then like 1,200 on my lower days. So we've cut out quite a bit since we started. Lane has had me consume about 1 gram of protein per body weight. So when I started out, I was 133 pounds, so I was consuming 100 and, around 130 to 150 grams of protein, and that has not changed at all. It's just more of a caloric intake right now than actually like just concentrating on protein itself.
Isabel, we've definitely had to be a little more active with. She plateaued several times, and so we had to get her carbs down to, anywhere from 60 to 70 grams. And this past week we got really aggressive with it and took it down to 50. And she's been a real trooper.
There's been days where I get home from the gym, and I just want to sit in my recliner and do absolutely nothing. And he is right there to say, hey, we need to get dinner. And before I know it, my plate's ready to go, and all I have to do is sit and eat. Supplements that I'm currently using, I use Scivation Whey on my oatmeal especially. I love that. I haven't been getting that many bowls of oatmeal lately, but when I am, I definitely use Scivation Whey. I've been using Extend religiously, pre-workout and post-workout. I've also been using Sesamin, Dialine, and Knockout every once in a while when I need to get to bed, but I can't. He did tell me that I needed to find some foods that took a little bit time to eat and had more volume to them, and that's when popcorn came into place. I'm addicted to it. I love it. The 100-calorie packed popcorn's taking me 25-30 minutes to eat, and I'm full for a couple of hours.
She's had some setbacks during this prep. Her knees have given her problems, and so we've had to kind of structure things around those. She hasn't been able to do as much quad work as I'd like just because of her knees, but I'd rather her be healthy than injure herself permanently trying to work through something. So we've cut her her leg extensions back. She still does Smith machine squats. She can do those without pain. She does a lot of those, and she does a lot of stiff-legged deadlifts and hamstring curls. We have her doing junior glute ham raises, I call them. So they're not full-fledged glute ham raises, but they're similar. So really trying to get her quads and hamstrings more developed. But a lot of that work just stuff that we just need to focus on in the off season. As far as leanness goes, that's going to come with the diet, and that's going to come with the cardio, and she's been doing all those things.
My body fat started around 19% body fat, and the last time we tested it was 20 days before my first show, and I was around 12 or 11. Hey, that was also very difficult to deal with. And Lane was right there to support me and say, you know what, you look leaner, do you feel leaner? And I did. It's just the scale wasn't being my friend for a while. But at the end of the day, that's just one factor in many. So
female clients especially who will come to me and they'll say, they want to get ready for a show, and I'll say, okay, well, what's your off-season diet like? And they'll tell me that they're eating 100 grams of carbs in the off-season. Well, if you're eating that much in the off-season, that doesn't exactly leave a lot of room to cut calories from. I mean, if you hit what are you going to cut it down to 0? And then if you hit a plateau, then what do you do? What I try to do with a lot of clients who I feel like have really crashed their metabolisms in the off season, I very slowly, very deliberately add calories in to if you do it correctly, they won't gain much weight, if any at all, but their metabolic rate will get increased. So by the time they roll around to being able to do a show, they have more room to cut calories from. Isabel was up to 260 grams of 260 grams of carbohydrates a day in the off season, and that's because we very slowly, very deliberately took them up, and that allowed her to have room to cut from. Because can you imagine if she had started out at if she'd been 150 grams of carbs in the off season, we had to cut them down to 75, and then she had those plateaus we had discussed. She would be stuck, and she wouldn't have any room to move.
I knew he was going to have to tell me, cut your carbs by 10, cut your carbs by 20, whatever it was. And I did. I didn't complain. I have to realize that we're all working towards the same goal.
She's had a few moments where she was kind of a little miffed about it.
Granted, this past week when he told me I have to be at 50 grams of carbs, I was a little testy. Hey, you be touching that, I'd be kicking your ass.
The worst thing she's done is grab like a handful of Cheerios.
I was so tired and annoyed and grumpy. Work was crazy, I was really tired, and I may have snapped at him a few times. So if anything, I snapped at him a few times.
And that's only been, one or two times when she's done something like that where she, grabbed an extra amount of food that she wasn't supposed to have. So
he just said, okay, and kind of walked away. So I'm kind of glad he did that and didn't escalate it anymore. So he put an end to it pretty quick.